Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show with the one, the only, the Blanca
What's happening? You have podcasted me to death today. It's been wonderful.
We podcast each other to death, but I love it.
It's been a full day of stories and excitement, and it don't stop now. Because guess what?
We're back for part two.
Part two comes when there's so much out of part one that you got so much many more and more questions. Does that make sense? So much more and many more questions that you gotta bring the
But
guests
check
back.
this out. I didn't even talk really in part one because I was so intrigued, because I believe the mind is a terrible thing to waste. But in this case, I'm being quiet, letting her tell her story, because I'm absorbing it all in. I love history, and I love the fact that this lady has taken the time to know her family's tree. I wish everybody did that. Yeah,
I feel like I got some work to do, and I don't know that. I hope it's not too late.
So without further ado, why don't you do the
You know what?
introductions?
My friend, my classmate, the Madam Ambassador, Dr. Nealy. Welcome back to the show again.
Thank you, my beloveds. Thank you.
Part two.
I appreciate being here. I'm deeply humbled. I really am. And I'm grateful that you are willing to listen. The audience is willing to listen.
Yes.
And that everybody will be enlightened. And my greatest hope is that everybody will go out and do better than us and make more money than us.
Okay.
My father said that to me. His father said that to him. His father said that, but now he changed it and he said it to a daughter versus saying it to a son.
Yes, because wealth is your birthright, by the way.
So let's start it from where you at right now.
Yeah.
Definitely the legacy is there. It's speechless to people that have entered into your life, even looking at pictures. Tell me more about where you're at right now. How has all of this legacy created generational wealth? And let me clarify this with people so they can understand this. When we talk about generational wealth, we're not talking about money.
No.
You've been educated, and you educated yourself. Tell us more. I need to know more. I'm gonna be quiet for a few minutes.
And please throw in some HBCU stuff, because
absolutely. So let me go. So I'm born December 27th, 1960, and I'm born in a hospital in Greenfield, Indiana. And my biological mother, who was, from what I understand, was a Jew of Jewish descent. Well, I know it's a religion. However, sometimes it looks like a race to us.
Right.
Just some characteristics. Anyway, she drops me and runs. Literally. She signs in, and as soon as she has me, she runs out. Doesn't sign out. Not at all. And my take on the story is that the KKK was either after her, her parents were going to kill her, somebody was going to kill her because she had laid down with a brother.
Oh.
So my name...
What's that called? Candyman?
Whatever that's called. What's that called? You add it in, I will incorporate it into the story.
I'm just sitting here, I almost done got big. I'm like, what?
So my name in the hospital is, all they could do was call me Infant Girl Swartz. So I'm Infant Girl Swartz. Swartz is the Jewish name.
Yes.
From Germany, German Jew. So her lineage is probably German Jew, probably, I'm sure. So I'm Infant Girl Swartz. And that name stayed from December 27th, 1960 until officially in the state of Indiana, May 26th, 1964.
So for 4 years, you were just
Infant
Girl Swartz.
My medical records were not attainable all the time. After I was adopted, never were. So I did not exist in medical history in the state of Indiana. Wow. Didn't know anything, nothing. So when my parents named me, it was such a big deal for them because they really wanted children. And so my mother and father, got together. My mother was even more so because she was the one that had the first child that was stillborn, but they really wanted children. Dad always wanted children. Mom always wanted children. So the name Angela came from angel because to them I was an angel because they could adopt me in a very red racist state. Okay. And then my middle name was Joyce or Rejoice. Because they rejoiced because I could stay. Because there was no guarantee, based on how adoption things happened back then, that it was going to happen. Adoptions were closed from 1964. back. Everything was closed, meaning nobody knew anything, nobody was allowed to say anything. And my parents that adopted me, Betty, I guess I should say their name, it's about time, right? Betty Jean Bullard Nealy. So they were born in Terre Haute, my father, my mother. My father, Donald George Nealy, was born in Terre Haute. They found each other. And let me get to that story. Let me kind of go with this and then come back to that. So they get the opportunity to adopt me. They adopted me by my father's friend, who was an attorney, who was an HBCU person. He went to Fisk. He was across the street from my father, who was at Meharry, Donald George Nealy. And he completed the adoption, but it was a black judge, Judge Bolden, whose son is alive. Judge Bolden passed away a number of years ago, who granted the whole process, along with my sister, Jacqueline Lynn Nealy, who was named after Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. She was adopted 2.5 years later. But both my parents were grateful to be able to adopt. Now, there's more to that whole story, too. In the state of Indiana, black folk who were dark were sent to their death in orphanages.
I didn't know that.
Because nobody would adopt them.
Nobody would adopt them. They weren't well cared for. Nutrition was horrible. They eventually passed away. They didn't live. Just like how they treated the American Indians. Same. It wasn't any different. So kids who were lighter, whose parents, either their father was white or their mother was white, or lighter, were treated better.
Colorism.
Colorism, absolutely. So because my parents that's the other part of the story, because my parents had means, that means they were wealthy, in the eyes of European whatever government. My dad was a dental technician. He had finished Meharry. My mother worked, but they didn't look at her. They just said she was a Negro woman. My father, they said his name on the paperwork that I finally got in 2018.
Really? Now, was she a brown-skinned woman, or?
She was Indian. So she was Cherokee, white, and black. So she was
Okay.
a kind of your color, your color, nose, a distinctive nose, absolutely drop dead gorgeous woman. Had black hair, but she always dyed it.
But they just called her Negro woman.
Negro woman. So my father's name was on there, and she was the Negro woman, but she was his wife. But they only looked at him and his income. They both were fairer. They weren't chocolatey. They were fair. So they thought, well, maybe that'd be all right. So they let them adopt us. But the guarantee was not there that we were going to get to stay. And that was always the fear of my parents. They're always worried. I couldn't understand when we were kids, why they're always worried that somebody was going to come get us. Somebody was going to come take us. And so they were always very, very captive. Not captive, but just held us close all the time. Just everywhere we went, all the time. And they were afraid for us to go places and do things. And so so my father changed the schedule from being vice president, co-owner of, part owner of Eton Kobe to becoming a dental professor by the time I was 12.
Now, are you still in Greencastle during this time?
No. I grew up in Indianapolis. So Greenfield.
Greenfield.
Greenfield, 45 years, yeah. No, I was adopted out of Greenfield between 0 and 6 months. Somewhere between 0 and 6 months. Because the only picture I have of me as a baby is me crawling. So it had to be about 6 months. So no, I grew up in Indianapolis.
Okay.
They were born in Terre Haute. But they moved when they got married. I'm going to go back. When they got married in 1952, in Terre Haute, and let me go back to how they found each other. They found each other at the boarding house parties that my grandfather, Robert George Nealy, and my grandmother, who were entrepreneurs. My grandmother ran the boarding house. She ran
For
the
the
money.
soldiers.
For the black soldiers,
Yes.
because they were not allowed in
Yes.
Terre Haute or anywhere else in Indiana to live with the white soldiers. And I think a lot of people don't know that at all. They have no clue that that's,
clue.
yeah, they were from World War I all the way through World War II. In between all that time frame, they had that boarding house. They were in charge of the parties, like dancing at the Savoy. So they were part of Harlem Renaissance, and they were also part of, I'm sure, of the Green Book. Because the band leaders, like all of the great jazz folk between World War I and World War II, who all of them was Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway. They called my grandfather on the phone and said, "Hey, Bob, you got a gig for us?" He said, "Yeah, man, I got it. Here's what will happen. After the party's over, we collected all the money. We'll pay you at the end of the night. And then you can stay at a boarding house and you can travel in the day to the next place," which was probably St. Louis. So that went on for years. And they paid him in cash. So at one of those parties, my mom came to the party. And my dad was in charge of making sure all the women got a dance and making sure they made it to their cabs or made it home or whatever. And then my grandmother and grandfather made sure, the band was taken care of, the food, whatever, however it was back, how I can envision it. When I look at Dancing, that's the Savoy, that movie. This is what they were doing. So they met dancing. And so my dad saw my mother cross the room after drop dead gorgeous woman. He sees her across the room. Now, he's 6 years older than her. He's on his way. He saved his money. He's on his way to marry. So he sees her across the room, just falls in love. And they dance the night away. And then he eventually goes off to Meharry for the next 3 years. And they write back and forth, but she wouldn't send him a picture of him. He said, I want you to remember what I look like in your mind. Now, he's down there in Nashville where all the greatest, gorgeous women, Fisk is known for having gorgeous women, in case you've ever
She sure she made that clear.
She threw that in there. I did not stutter.
Say it.
And smart. And the women at Meharry, and the women at Vanderbilt, and the women at Tennessee State. So he was around all those women, but he came back and he married my mother. They courted. I mean, they didn't live together. I have to tell this in talk when I do talk. They didn't live together. She lived with her grandmother because her mother was passing for white, running around. She running around being woo, you know. And she wanted to be opposite of her mother. So her grandmother raised her. So her grandmother looked white. Her mother looked white. You know, they had a house that got burned down last year by arsonists. So that home that had been in our family 150 years, it no longer exists. All the Bibles, whatever was there, all the pictures are gone. But I have a picture of them when they got married in 1952. In the wall behind the wallpaper, you know, that curly looking wallpaper. So the wedding cake people, so I had that picture in my home of them. They come back, they get married, they moved to Evansville. And he had Dr. Umbach, I think his name was. I don't know why I remember that name. But my father went to work for him. And my mother, I think she got a job in the library, which was unusual, but they were a little more progressive. And then they come to Indianapolis and they build a home. And here's another historical part. In Indianapolis, black folk weren't allowed to live above 38th Street in the 50s and the 40s and the 30s.
Wow.
So by 1959, my parents built this home, still there, 435 Berkeley Road, for $22,000. Now, today's worth $350,000, $400,000, probably more than that, because it's in the Butler-Tarkington area. A black family still lives in the home. So that's where we were raised. Now, another historical part is while Dad's getting dressed and he's got his tie on and his belt and all this, he's getting ready to go to work. If a white woman had walked across, you know, in front of our house on the sidewalk and he was out on the sidewalk and he didn't get off, they would have arrested him in front of his own home and he's vice president of a company.
Wow.
This is between 1960 and 70.
You're an amazing storyteller, by the way.
Thank you.
You are.
I think big deal.
I think she literally needs to. You just need to record this. Somebody else can transcribe it, but if you recorded this, can you imagine the great stories that come out of this? And you tell one story after another. You could have a collection of stories.
You notice I haven't said not one
you,
word.
And you up here, but this is you.
I haven't even looked at you.
We know this is Brennan, and he's all like this, taking it
He's
all
doing my dad. That's
in.
my dad. Like, that's what dad would do when he
Well, I'm going to tell you the reason why.
It's
because
great.
I'm like, I am so impressed that you know your history.
Totally. I mean, but
You
the
know what I mean?
details,
And
you've
the
got,
details.
and the dates in her head, girl.
That's. I wish all of our people could
Yeah.
do that.
I just wish I could remember what I did yesterday. How about that?
Or the last bloopers, the last.
Today, yeah. But this is absolutely amazing. And so, okay, come on, let's get you to college, because I got to.
Yeah, absolutely. So we go through high school. Well, now, mind you, when I was born, I think that's the rough part of when I was born, from 0 to 12, I struggled with my health. I missed a lot of school. I was introverted. I repeated kindergarten, couldn't read well, almost didn't make it out of kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. Finally got it together, started playing softball, played the violin, started playing the violin at 11. That's all through middle school. Then we get to high school. Our paths cross, so now I'm playing the violin in the orchestra, and telling the story too about our high school. Our high school was, they didn't want black folk there.
North Central, yeah.
They didn't want black folk there, and so trying to get in and take the higher level classes, they didn't want us there either. But we were there, and I got a tutor because I didn't do well that first quarter in chemistry, and I went to see my chemistry teacher, Mr. Conkle, never forget it. Oh, you nigga, you never do anything in science. I said, okay. So I ended up majoring in chemistry, and I chose to go to Fisk University. Now, Harvard came calling, Dillard came calling, Spelman, all those came calling, but I wanted to go to Fisk. I fell in love with Fisk because we would go down to the HBCU for the football game. So we'd see Tennessee State play, Mississippi Valley State or any of the others all the time as families. My parents and their friends, we'd all drive down and hang out and see the games and see the campuses. So it's like we grew up on those campuses. So I've been going to Nashville since I was like 14, 15. It's my second home. We eventually bought property and had a condo plus the family home. home and that kind of thing's the generational wealth, because Dad was like, oh no, this is all going to y'all. When we leave, this is all yours. So we were taught that a long, early time. And I think at some point I was talking about the fact that when Medinko bought out Ito and Kobe, I was watching and learning about the Wall Street Journal. I was a kid, 12,
Yeah.
13, 14. You know, that was normal for me to read the Wall Street Journal. It still is now. And I don't advise, but I'll do interviews with them or whatever sometimes. Or anyway, so I leave high school and go to Fisk, and I major in chemistry at Fisk and minor in chemical engineering at Fisk. But I major in chemical engineering at Vanderbilt and minor in chemistry at Vanderbilt. So in the day I'm at Fisk, in the afternoon I'm at Vanderbilt. And the program was a bit much. I didn't finish the chemical engineering, but I got 2 good years in. But in that time frame, 79, 80, 81, 80, women in engineering and black women in engineering, and black women in chemical engineering was just like an anomaly. It was like, oh, you lost your mind. You gonna do what? So, and we weren't well received at Vanderbilt. Not at all. They didn't want us there. It was crazy.
By the time I got to Tennessee in 87, and I was working for a pharmaceutical company, I went to Knoxville, Tennessee first, and the backlash I received for being a woman, and back then they called them detail reps. The sales reps for the pharmaceutical companies were called detail reps. And I was a detail rep, and I got so much flack and was told, they called me gal, and told me that I was taking away men's jobs and their ability to provide for their families, and I needed to get home in the kitchen and get to cooking and having them babies. These are from prominent doctors in the area. I mean, seriously, this was 1987.
I know. I went to go visit you when you lived there.
Yeah, 1987. So I left Knoxville after a year and went to Nashville, and then stayed in Nashville for another 7-8 years.
There you go.
Yeah. So I know what you're speaking about, and yours was even almost 10 years prior. Well, not quite, but still within that time frame.
Not much has changed.
Yeah,
and you can see a KKK brother. I'm being nice. I saw a KKK guy standing on the corner as I was driving from Fisk over to Vanderbilt. Standing on the corner, I drove past him. He was standing there doing whatever. And then we were coming back from Vanderbilt. A classmate of mine were coming back from Vanderbilt. And I had on a sweater, and it said, I think it said VU, it probably said VU, and I changed it and had it made FU, Fisk University versus VU, Vanderbilt University. But the police officer stopped us because he thought it was a white woman with a black guy. So he stops us. I said, officer, how are you? I'm like, oh, I said, don't say anything. Let me get us out of this. He said, okay. I said, officer, how are you? What you doing? I said, well, we were just coming from campus. I'm an engineering student at Vanderbilt. Oh, you go to Vanderbilt? I said, yes. Just on my way home. Oh, okay. And he let us go. And if I said I'd gone to Fisk, even though I love Fisk, it would have been ugly for the person who was in the car with me. And I would get stopped a lot. Even in high school, I get stopped a lot, especially because the guys that I dated were darker and I was lighter. And, they just thought from looking in, driving by.
Let me ask a quick question before you continue your story. This is Andre the Beast Grading Show.
Like, share, subscribe, comment.
And, it's not about a lot of times us talking. Sometimes it's about just listening to someone's story. And this is one of those episodes where the story is truly remarkable. My question to you is, why do you, and I know this is a hypothetical question, why do you think that we as minorities are so programmed when it comes to law enforcement?
Programmed to...
If I'm with some friends of mine and I get pulled over, they're like cool as cucumber. But me, I'm like, oh my God,
You should be because history. You should be because history has proven itself over and in 2023, even still over and over and over. But they're doing nothing.
Why do you think that they don't understand that?
It's not their journey. It's not their reality.
Yeah,
and so I think there's an awareness today, wouldn't you say? People are becoming more woke.
Floyd.
Yes, people are becoming more woke that this actually does happen, and that there is oftentimes brutality when, particularly an African American male is stopped by the police.
It's
scary.
But
when it's not your reality, you know what? Let me tell you what I liken it to. Think about when the first school shooting took place and how mortified we were.
1999.
Oh, MG.
The Caliban? It was a Caliban?
Caliban, yes.
Yeah.
But think about how the country was mortified.
We were just
What do you do today when you hear about a school shooting?
Oh God, it's the season.
It's
They're gonna do-
another
who they
one.
shooting up today?
Yeah, oh, just another one. We become desensitized.
To it.
So when you think about, when it's not your journey, when it's not your reality, you hear about it and you go, okay, okay. But when it doesn't happen to you, it's hard sometimes to really
comprehend
process
it.
that.
So
Mhm.
when you go out and get in your car and you're going to drive from your home to wherever you're going, you have a really nice car. Our fear is, did the brother make it okay? Did he get
Yeah.
stopped for doing absolutely nothing? When I get in the car, I know I'm gonna look white. But I also know if I put a hat on my head, I'm gonna look more white than seeing this curly hair. This curly hair, and I think I'm Latino. They're not gonna think I'm black. They think I'm Latino, and now they're the target too. So I know if I put on a hat, and I do it sometimes because I don't want to be harassed. God bless it, but sometimes that's how it is. I just want to go from point A to point B. I put on that hat. I'm gonna pass for white. The cop's gonna see me and just gonna drive on by. But I'm gonna make sure I'm not speeding either. Because as soon as I'm speeding and the officer stops me and he checks my license plate on my BMV, it says black female.
Yeah.
It doesn't say white.
Yeah,
I don't get to enjoy the whatever you want to call it of white privilege. The white side of me doesn't get to do that,
Amen.
and neither does she. We are still black, no matter how light it is. Because when you look in the BMV and they look at, you're still black, and eventually you become even blacker. And then the voice changes. Listen, and you're like putting hands on, we're doing the same thing. But it's worse for you. It's worse for my nephew. He's darker. My nieces, they're darker. They look African American. I fear for them all the time. When my nephew told me a couple years ago, Aunt, I was in the Vallejo and I almost died. I said, I'm sure. Let me guess, they had you on your knees, they were going to shoot you in the back of your head? Yes, I said. And you did what? Nothing. I didn't say a word. I was petrified. I bet you were.
Yeah, I still get petrified. I got pulled over
Yes.
a couple of weeks ago, and I was leaving the studio, and thank God that the cop was really nice.
Thank God.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Thank God.
And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I don't want to tell the area, but I got pulled over, and the guy was, because I just felt it. It was at night, so people go, well, how do you know it was a cop? I say, you just feel it.
You just, it's intuitive. You've grown up.
Yeah,
with
that's
it.
your intuition
Yeah.
and knowing it's there. And then, the other side that we don't consider sometimes is because there have been incidents where things have gone awry. They're scared too.
Yeah.
They're
And
scared
I get
too.
it. I get
They're
it.
scared
I get it.
now more so than they were.
Yeah,
Because of George
because they
Floyd.
were,
Yes.
because they were in more control at one point. Now we're inclined to fight back.
Yes.
People will fight back.
Like lift the chair and swing. I'm sorry.
No, but when,
About the chair incident.
Yeah,
We haven't discussed that one yet. Yes,
so anyway, yeah. So I mean, I'm just
a chair.
it just really just shocked me, and I was just wondering, with what you went through down there, how do we get over that?
We don't. I mean, we don't. And we will become forever emblazoned with that madness and nonsense for the rest of our life. So we have to be faithful. My father's mantra was faith. Your faith must be greater than your fear.
Okay.
My mother's
there you go.
was, my mother's was, and they had to be.
Yeah.
They lived through Jim Crow. They lived through lynchings. My
Yeah.
parents, my grandparents, we lived through all of that. Your parents,
Yeah,
And you can't
my
let the
grandmother
fear
still alive. Her
paralyze
parents
you, or
was
you
like-
won't do
Yeah.
anything in your life. If
Exactly.
it paralyzes,
Exactly.
I mean, it's similar. You can't say it's the same, but it's similar. You go to the grocery store and there could be a mass shooting. You
Yeah.
go to the mall, there could be. But does that mean you stop going to the grocery
No,
store,
you
stop
just
going to the
go.
mall?
Yeah.
You just gotta have faith and just go
Yeah.
where you need to
no,
go.
when God says it's my time to go. You don't get to ask questions. It's just your time to go.
So tell the viewers a little bit more about your story.
Absolutely.
Let's go
so,
back.
so we do college, and I get a chance to do some internships. I lived in Philadelphia, and I wrote a book about a particular SO2 particulate removal system for PICO, which is called PICO now, as an internship, as an engineer. And I begged this guy, who was Mr. Rowe, R-O-W-E, he came to Vanderbilt to recruit, and I wanted a summer internship, which I knew women didn't get, and black women didn't get, and sophomores didn't get, but he created a job for me, because I called him collect every day for 30 days.
Because I told you you she talk a lot. But it's gotten her indoors. Let's be clear. Let's be
Absolutely. He
clear.
said, look, I'm gonna find a place for you to live. I'm gonna create a job. So they created a job. So I had to write 2 books on SO2 particulate is the substance that's given off when coal is goes up the stack of those long stacks in Pennsylvania area, right? So doing that and lived in where Mount Airy Groove and all of that, and rode the public transportation, which I never did. I was spoiled because I had a car when I was 16. Anyway, so I did that one internship. Another internship was the next summer. I got to work for Dow Chemical. And there I discovered the process that you all do today. So like this bottle right here. And I saw this somewhere. Somebody said, I don't want to say how it works. I just know it's PET, paraffin terephthalate, now bisphenol. Anyway, I was the one who discovered the thickness of the bottle, the Teflon cap that would go in here. And then the latex coating, and that's how the soda pop carbonation stays in versus going out. So that was what I discovered. But because I worked for Dow, and I was a scientist, everything is turned over to them.
Absolutely, they own
So
all
I'm
that
the one who did
intellectual
that.
property.
I was the intern who did that back in 1982 under Don Clark with an E.
Almost like that movie about them 3 minority astronaut ladies that worked for NASA.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, those were friends of the astronauts that I worked for. I died. So that's that. So then I come back. I go to St. Louis, lived for St. Louis. Worked as a toy manager for the venture store that doesn't exist anymore, May Company, because they weren't very diversified, and they treated us horribly. Black women, it was horrible. But all of us that left have done extremely well. Anyway, they don't exist anymore. So did that. Became an assistant buyer, came back to Indianapolis, worked for Xerox, got sent to Terre Haute, and they sent me there to die because it was like it was a saturated market. So I got myself out of it by writing a report that said, if we turn this into a Xerox authorized dealerships, you all will make 10 times what you make. You make only $20,000 a month, doing what we do, selling copies door to door. So we make $200,000 a month. So I wrote the report. The lady who happened to be, Lynn Bedell, who happened to be the director of the hub the director at the district manager at the time. This is back in 1987. Back in 1987, she happened to be the district manager. And so she took the report, it got her a promotion, and they turned all of Terre Haute into Xerox dealerships, and they made millions upon millions.
Don't you just love it when people take your work and just...
Right.
And it happens a lot.
It happens a lot. But we did get exemption because they were trying to fire all the black folk. That was a part of why they sent me to Terre Haute. But I did something a little different. I filed an EEOC suit, which was dual filed with the commission. Well, the feds were already trying to get Xerox in Indianapolis because they were notoriously racist and bigoted and was treating us horribly. So they came in. I went up to Chicago to talk to one of the higher up brothers, but I didn't tell them I had done what I'd done. So when I came back, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you tell me? Oh, no. I had a plan. And I was going to work that plan so that our people were taken care of. So when the feds came in, who I happened to be socializing with because they happened to be friends with the deputy mayor, and I just happened to socialize with them, and they happened to be there. And they said, they told me the week before, we coming to Xerox. I said, you want to make sure you're not there? I said, okay. So they came in and told them all. There was a sister who was an attorney and a brother, William Smitherman, never forget. Came in and said, here's what we're going to do, and here's how this is going to work. All of you managers, Xerox managers, you're going to do 2 things. You're going to give us all your files, and you're going to give us all your dirt files. Now, if you can't do those 2 things, we will put you in jail for contempt of court until we finish our findings. Do you understand? They were mad. So all the black folk, there weren't that many of us, scattered. We stayed in the field the whole time. So they did all of the sales. We were at sales calls. We were everywhere. We were at home. We were just not at the office for that week or 2 weeks or whatever. Anyway, so when they finished their findings, they said, here's what's going to happen. Here's what we found. We found that you all were notoriously and historically, habitually racist. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure you do all the reviews correctly because you rated everybody low, especially all the black folks. You're going to redo those reviews. Any money they should get, you're going to make sure they get. You who moved from Terre Haute and they didn't afford you your $4,000, you're going to get that. Plus, that means the sale that they were going to take away from you, which was $250,000, which was a lot back then. We're going to get you your fur coat because you earned that money, plus the commissions because you made it through the contest, blah, blah, blah. And here's what's going to happen next. For the next 20 years or for the life of this company here in Indianapolis, you will never, ever fire another black person. You will always hire a black person who is credible, and most of you who apply to Xerox are credible. Do you understand? And the reviews will be written as they should be written correctly and commensurate with the service that all of our reps have provided. And they looked at it, they were mad at us. but all the black folk were taken care of. So to this day, in 2023, my aunt and my cousin still have insurance for life from Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield as a result of that action in 1987.
Wow.
Really?
I never told that story. I've never told that story like that.
I tell you, you got a lot of good stories.
I told you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So did that. Corporate America, it was a challenge, I got fired a few times because I wasn't giving up the, and so I was going as my dad said, you going up vertically, not horizontally. I said, Dad, you
Oh, now I get it.
Oh, did that? Yeah. Did that
she already knew where I was going with that.
Okay, now I got it.
So I got into education. And I started as a sub. And because I had a science background, I was grabbed up quick.
Yeah.
Absolutely in demand.
Yeah.
Absolutely in demand.
Yeah.
But so that's 1989. In 1986, we've already created two things. A group of us created the Stewart Speakers Lecture Series, which has gone on now for 36, going on 37 years,
Yeah.
where I met a bunch of famous people in those books. And we also created MIPA, Minority Engineering Program in Indianapolis. It was the black executives
remember
from,
that.
we created that, 36, 30, it's still going on now. So when you talk about creating legacy and creating something that goes on, we've done that, and I've done that with people, but it's still going on some 37 years later. So now I look back, I go, wow, that was a brave thing for us to do, but we worked together. I think the point I should drive home is we worked together. We didn't stab each other in the back, we worked together.
And it reminds me of a quote that I say, not every storm is meant to destroy.
That's right.
Some are meant to clear the path.
That's right.
Right?
That's
and so
absolutely-
you had to do what you had to do to blow it up
Yeah.
so that you could clear the
So
path
others
for other
benefit.
people.
So
That's
anytime
right.
I've been
That's
anywhere, I always do, I benefit, but I'm more interested, just like Hiram Roosevelt's did, for other people to benefit.
Yeah.
It's not worth it if it's just about you. And
That's
all money
right.
ain't good money.
Before we wrap up, take us down the ending part of your journey real quick about the. I'm not going to be able to pronounce all them titles. Doctor.
Oh.
Take us down the final chapter.
What's next? Yeah, you got this now. What's
Well,
next?
I haven't talked about the athletic side of my life.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
do that.
Oh, that's
And I haven't
right.
talked about the astronaut side of my life either.
Let's do that real
Oh,
quick.
Lord.
So we created the lecture series, and creating lecture series in 1994, I got to meet Dr. Macy Jemison, the first African-American woman in space. And so my job was logistics. I was in charge of making sure that these famous people got from point A to point B. And point B was the stage. Point A was from the limousine. So anyway, in this particular day was at Madame C.J. Walker, 94, and all these kids were there to see her speak. So she finished the speaking, then she comes out into the foyer. If you know the Madame C.J. Walker Theater, she comes out in the foyer, and my job was to make sure the kids didn't run her over. But she's tall. She's 5'10", 5'11", and she's massive, you know. She's got this booming personality. So I'm kneeling down next to her, and she says, so what do you do? I said, well, Dr. Jemison. I don't call her by her first name. I still don't call her by her first name. Dr. Jemison, I'm a teacher, and I'm over the logistics committee. She said, really, what do you teach? I said, science. She said, oh my God, you want to work for me? Absolutely, you want to work for me. I know you do. Here's what you do. You can write to me. I said, yeah, no problem. Here's what I'm doing. When I get back to this is how she is. This is how she talks. And the only thing she says that cracks me up is stuff like that, and stuff like that. She said, yes, so here's what I'm doing. When I get back, I'm traveling for the next couple of weeks. When I get back to my office, I'm going to send you this application. You apply for it, blah, 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 and I'll see you in July. I said, okay. So that was so I stayed on her speed dial from 1994 till,
That is crazy.
That's how I got hired. Just like that. AJ, she loved the initiatives, loved my science person, African-American person, created lecture series, all of that.
So what'd you do?
I stayed on the speed dial. I was one of 3 educators who was selected to teach on the first international science camp called TWOS, The Earth We Share. It was in...
I remember that.
Yeah, Choate Rosemary. She had all these people that were sponsors for her. Afro Sheen, U Machine, everybody. Yes, they just got from space. So we go to Choate Rosemary. There's two other educators, one from Kansas, blonde-haired guy, and then a lady, Maisha Washington. She was an interesting character, long braids from D.C., and I come from Indianapolis. I was the athletic one, so she absolutely loved that. Oh my God, because I was training for the nationals, the outdoor nationals. I was going to go to Canada, and I was going to go to Eugene to run. So, but I had to train. So I get up at 6 o'clock every morning and run, do a mile or 2 or whatever. Then I'd go to breakfast with the kids. Then I'd go and monitor and teach and all of that. And then at lunch, I'd have lunch with the kids. Then I'd go and do sports, play soccer with the kids. Then I'd go a third workout. I'd go to dinner with. I'd go a third workout and lift weights. And it started all over again. So in the evenings I was planning and helping plan and teach and, and we had to do a presentation. But when she would come, she'd be in the security detail. That year was the anniversary of Apollo, I think the 25th by then. And so our kids were seen all over the world because they interviewed them. And then she did a Scholastic speech because she was a spokesperson for Scholastic.
Yep.
So they filmed it at Soap Rosemary, and we all got to be in it and be there and be, stand-ups or whatever. Yeah.
I could not.
We got to-
I'm exhausted.
And one of her
And she ain't even said nothing about her football career yet.
I got to know that.
Oh yeah. I
She
forgot
played
about that.
football.
Yeah, that's right.
Professional.
Oh, that mercy. Tune in, keep subscribing, keep watching this. We're getting more and more
We
stuff
got
every
5
few
more
minutes.
minutes. We got 5 more minutes, and we're gonna keep it going.
We're gonna keep it going.
Keep it
okay.
going.
Okay.
Keep it
so
going.
so that was the first. That was the first round. That was the first round. So I'm there in '94, and I'm training to run because I had just started teaching at Ben Davis High School. Now, mind you, Ben Davis had never hired anybody of color to teach math or science. This was 1992, 100 years after school had started. So I'm the first person to get hired. So they tried to fire me every day. Every day they tried to fire me for 5 years. But when God sends you on a mission, nobody can take it away.
Hey.
And that truly was a mission. And he kept taking care of me and taking care of the kids, taking care of my family. And every day they tried, but they failed every day for 5 years. And so I started, so in order to teach chemistry, I have to say this so you understand it. In order for them to allow me to teach chemistry, I had to agree to be a track coach. They weren't
I got you.
They
Yeah.
were not going to let me teach chemistry unless I agreed to be a track coach. Okay. That is how the contract was written.
Kidding.
And if I had resigned from coaching, they were going to make me quit teaching chemistry.
Wow.
That's
So
the
it was
value.
conditional.
It was conditional. But I ended up getting one of the athletes who they couldn't get to go to state and get a scholarship, European female. Daddy called me nigger all the time, nigger coach. You going that nigger coach? My colleagues said the same thing. And the custodial staff was what saved me and saved my job because they would hear them say, oh, that nigger teacher. And they'd throw my lesson plans in the trash. They'd turn on a Bunsen burner in the lab after I left to say I left it on. Anything they could do. But it never worked. And my kids thrived. And now my students are doctors. They have their own business. They have their own schools. Many of them, 15, 20, they were doctor before I was. So they welcomed me into the doctor. That kind of thing. So when we talk about that story, it's just absolutely amazing. I mean,
And then when did the football career come in?
football-
I was going to ask that question next.
Well, before the football career was the pro as a pole vaulter. I ended up trying. I never talked about
Look,
that.
I just don't got all comfortable. Like, okay.
I need some popcorn and a Pepsi. 'Cause this is a movie.
So it is a movement.
Now she's pole vaulting.
It's not just a movie. It's a movement. It's a movement.
Maybe we should say, what haven't you done?
I have not been to the moon, and I have not been to Germany, France, or Italy, but I want to go.
Not, like I said, not yet.
And she trying to get me to skydive with her. She
Yes,
think I don't
I
know.
said that.
Yeah.
I didn't respond yet because I'm still in
I'm
shock.
still waiting on a
She
response.
I'm
told
still
me,
in
she said
shock.
she's trying to give me the sky. I was like, go
know.
for it.
I was skydiving when I was 47. I want to go back to skydive again. So
All right,
I did
going.
it. I did it. You already skydived, right?
I think I'm gonna do it as long as my back checks
We're
out.
gonna do it. Okay,
As
good.
long as my back checks out.
So I took up track and field because I had to be a track and field coach. I took up track and field, but we have Olympians in our family anyway. We have Mal Whitfield. We have Dr. Greg Bell, gold medal, first African American to get a gold medal in the long jump in the '56 Olympics. Mal Whitfield, the 800 meter in 2 Olympics. So, it was normal for me to do that. Anyway, so I was in Canada doing the North American Championships, and I was throwing the javelin. I've got a picture on my wall in my home. Throwing the discus, the hammer, all of that, and running the 4x1 and all that. And so one of the ladies who was a pole vaulter, who'd been a pole vaulter a long time, said, you should take up German. You should take up pole vaulting. I said, okay. So I'm 33, gonna be 34. I said, cool. So I went back to school.
At 30-something years.
At 30, yes, 33.
You pole vaulted.
I also took adult gymnastics so I could do better. So I could do flips and the rings and all of that. So I learned how to back and front flip and do the rings and just stuff like that.
You know, the next show, we're going to some gym. And
I'm going to
The gym, I'm thinking her house is probably a museum.
It is a museum. It is a museum.
Jesus.
It is. So I learned how to pole vault, and I learned how to pole vault long enough and well enough to make almost the pole vault was just starting for women in '96 because they were trying to save the men's pole vaulting. So Stacey Dragila would have been my teammate. She's 10 years younger than me. So I got up to, I was almost making 11 feet. That's all I had to do was make 11 feet. And I was flirting with it, but I didn't make it in time to make it into the trials. But I had the paperwork where I was accepted in. It's just I had to make that mark. And I would have been a B athlete. There's B and A athletes. A athletes, you're totally sponsored. B athletes, you're not. and you have to become an A athlete in order to make it to the actual Olympics. You can make it
Gotcha.
through the trials, but so I did that, and I was 35 then, and then the football, because I was in such great track shape, because I would do like 1640s, and I don't know if you know how that workout works. You do 440s, and then you run back after each one. Then you have a 2-minute rest. Then you walk back after each of the 440s. Then you have another 2-minute rest. Then you run 4 more 40s and run back. So you run the 40, you run as fast as you can. So you do 16 of them. So that's one of the workouts I would do. And then I would train with the Australian national team with them. I went to Australia, trained with them, and lived in Australia for a little while in Wollongong. Anyway, so I was in such good shape because I didn't do well at the World Championships in 2001 in Australia. So I said, I was so disappointed. So I came back and trained really hard, and I got my 40-meter down to 4.3 and 4.4. And then I saw the advertisement in the paper. They wanted to create a pro women's football team. I said, cool. I said to my students, hey, Miss Nealy, it's good to say you're in. Oh my God, yes. So I just tried out. Well, I ran the 40 so fast they had me run it 3 times because they didn't believe it. Because I probably ran it, like I said, he had this, and he was like, here, run the 40. I said, okay. And I ran 4.6. Now here I'm 41, gonna be 42, and he's looking at me like, could you run that again? I said, sure. So I ran it again. I ran it faster. 4.5. He said, could you run that again? I said, sure. So because I run repeat points.
Yeah, that's right.
No big deal to me.
That's right.
So I ran at 4.4, and he was like, and then he had me do, you have to do the reach. You have to do the
You had to do the combine.
yeah,
for
we
women.
did the combine for women. He was like, so I was the second person. I would have been first because I tore my knee during the tryouts because the guy, this big 250-pound guy, wants to block me. I'm like, I only weigh 135. I'm gonna be a free safety. I'm gonna go after the people who weigh what I weigh. You too big for me. So I ended up playing defense. But in so doing, I went up 20th in the second round in a historic draft in Atlanta. And we played. I was actually hurt most of the season, more of the season than I wanted to be hurt. But I recovered from 2 knee surgeries. In a
Why are you pointing at my knees?
Because your knee got hurt.
He goes 2 knee surgeries.
I just want to encourage you. You're going to get better real quick. So both knees, I got work done.
She went right to my fingers, your knees.
But you're going to be all right. So anyway, I just, I ended up playing at the end in the regional meet, and then we went to Birmingham, Alabama, and played in the final. And my doctor told me. He told me when he first fixed me when I was 28, when I told me ACL, he said, "You'll never run or jump again." Okay, so I did track and field. I ran, I jumped, I did, started running. I ran 11.8 fastest was 100 meter. I'm like, really? Okay, whatever.
Wow.
And then when I went back to him when I'm 41 to fix me because he's still Dr. Janito, he was great. And he fixed me up again twice, 2 surgeries. He said, "No, you can never run on turf." I said, "Oh, okay. Why'd you tell me that?" So I ended up playing in the Super Bowl with all these young kids, they're half my age. And my job was to go after Rocky. Rocky was this really fast athlete, who was half my age, go after a killer, as they used to tell me, AJ, look, you catch him, we'll kill him. I said, okay. Because, my teammates, they were bigger than me. They were 6'4", 350 pounds.
But you were fast.
But I was fast, yeah.
Yes.
And all I do is catch them. I'd catch them, grab a leg. That's all I got to do is grab a leg, boom, they down. I roll, so that's my job was during Super Bowl was to do that, was to stop the fast one. We didn't win, but the fact that I played in the Super Bowl.
The fact that you played at 40 years old.
Yeah, people half my age, but I was trying to keep up when they were trying to keep up with me, is really what it was. So.
I gotta go talk to my therapist and be like, hey, look.
Now you need to go talk to Dr. Drove or Dove or whatever.
Dr. Drove.
Yeah. You need Dr. Drove.
Yeah, Dr. Drove's probably retired now.
So as we wrap up, because we have to, and it's hard to not, but we need to. Yes, we have to. What's next?
Well, now I am a global United Nations Peace ambassador, NGO, non-government organization, and I've gotten 2 presidential accommodations, one from Obama this year and one for Lifetime Achievement Awards from Obama, one from the present president, and I have this commission. So being an ambassador, writing my memoirs, and yes, the recording of it, and that's been here too. I said maybe the recording of it would be much more interesting if they read it. I definitely
and get it out now.
And get it out now.
And get it out now while your mind is still just sharp as it can be. I mean, the fact we don't know. That's the one thing we always say. We'll get to it. Do it, because you never know the time nor the hour or whatever. That is way too much history and information and detail. But not only that, guess what? It's interesting. It's one thing if you're just talking and it's like, blah, blah, blah. We both up here like, oh my, this could go on for a while.
I don't get the show completely up.
But what a blessing. So leave our viewers with something that could inspire them, because when you
From
look over
generation to
your
generation,
life,
yeah.
when you look over your life, what do you think was that thing that really compelled you to live out full? I mean, I would have to say you're living a full, you're the example of live full, die empty.
Yep.
So when you think about that, what could you just say as just a
Watching my
parting word?
parents, my parents, they adopted us, they wanted us, but watching them and hearing their stories, seeing what they left and went through and had to do, and I think the fire was already there when I was born, and overcoming the things I had to overcome, and it's just the fire still lit even at 62, almost 63. Just that fire, and it's there or it's not there, but seeing people who were poor, my parents were poor, come together and learn about the stock market and have land and have, and pass it on to us, and just wanting, and my dad telling me, my sister and I need y'all to do better than us. Mm-hmm. My mother, same thing. You're going to college. That's all we ever heard for 18 years. You're going to college. You're going to college. We don't know where. We worry about that money, but you're going to college.
So what word could you give someone else?
Be unstoppable.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to say no more. I think she said it all.
You're right.
This has been another truly
Compelling.
part 1 and 2.
Yes.
Listen to it. Definitely mind-blowing. Thank you so much. You know what? I'm choked up because this is an honor for me because your story
She's amazing.
is amazing. I mean,
It's
you
amazing.
definitely have lived the life.
Yeah.
You own
She's
empty.
lived full. She's
I'm on-
lived
yeah,
full. I don't
yeah.
think she's empty yet.
Yeah,
No,
she's-
no,
yeah.
no.
She
We're
went
gonna go
somewhere.
40 years.
She just said, "Let's go skydiving," for
Yeah.
God's sake.
I said,
And
"We
then
gotta go
she
skydiving."
she said, "Where we going? Skydiving."
We're going skydiving.
She said, "I need to get." She still has to get to Greece.
I got
Yeah.
to Greece,
And
Germany,
and
Italy. I got to
Italy.
sail down the Nile still.
She's got a couple things to do.
I still got to
You
do a
know.
TED Talk. Or maybe this
Her
was the
TED
TED
Talk.
Talk. This probably was the TED
Yeah.
Talk.
No,
I
this
love
wasn't no
it.
TED Talk. TED Talk's nothing but 20 minutes at the most.
Well,
Most
I
of
can
them.
do
I call this the educational
This
talk.
has been a great series. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. It's
Thank
been a
you.
pleasure to have
Oh,
you with us
absolutely.
today.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre
The Beast.
the Beast
Creighton.
Creighton.